First contact and betrayal. The signal came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Dr. Sarah Chen was running routine scans at the Mauna Kea Observatory when her equipment picked up something impossible, a perfectly structured sequence of prime numbers originating from the Carina Nebula. Within hours, every major observatory on Earth confirmed the same thing. Humanity was not alone. Commander James Rivera stood at attention before the United Earth Council, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic displays showing the signal's origin. After 30 years of service in the United Earth Fleet, he thought he'd seen everything. He was wrong. The U.S. Artemis is our most advanced vessel, Council President Adebayo stated, her voice echoing through the chamber. And you, Commander Rivera, are our most experienced officer. You will lead this first contact mission. The Artemis was a marvel of human engineering. 2 kilometers of gleaming titanium alloy and carbon composites, powered by the most advanced fusion drives ever created. But more importantly, she carried Earth's brightest minds. Scientists, diplomats, and warriors, all chosen for humanity's most important mission. Dr. Chen, now the ship's chief xenolinguist, worked tirelessly with her team as they approached the signal source. The mathematical patterns are growing more complex, she reported. It's like they're testing us, seeing if we can keep up. After 3 months of faster-than-light travel, they arrived at the coordinates. What they found defied explanation. A massive structure hung in space, its surface covered in shifting geometric patterns that seemed to defy physics. Before anyone could react, a beam of energy scanned the Artemis from bow to stern. "Greetings, humans." The voice resonated through every speaker on the ship, perfectly translated into English. "I am High Marshal Kextar of the Zarkanian Empire. Your arrival was predicted. Your species has been studied. And now, you face a choice." Commander Rivera straightened in his captain's chair. "We come in peace, seeking dialogue and understanding between our peoples." A harsh laugh echoed through the communications system. "Peace. Understanding. Your species has been observed for centuries. You wage wars, destroy ecosystems, and fragment into competing factions. The Empire cannot allow such chaos to spread through the galaxy." The massive structure suddenly transformed, sections sliding apart to reveal a fleet of warships, each larger than the Artemis. "You have 2 standard rotations to submit to Imperial authority. Your planet will be reorganized under our guidance. Resist, and we will be forced to implement alternative measures." Dr. Chen's hands flew over her console. "Commander, the translation matrices are picking up something else. Encrypted communications. There's more happening here than they're telling us." Rivera's mind raced. Everything about this felt wrong. The Empire's appearance, their ultimatum. It was too perfect, too choreographed. Dr. Chen, full analysis of all communications, encrypted or not. Lieutenant Park, begin passive scans of their fleet. Something doesn't add up here. As the crew worked, Rivera studied the alien ships. Their design was intimidating, clearly meant to inspire fear. But why show their hand so openly? Why not simply attack if they were so superior? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Chen burst onto the bridge, her eyes wide with excitement and fear. "Commander, I've cracked part of their internal communications. The Empire, they're afraid of us." "Afraid? Of one ship?" Rivera's tactical officer scoffed. "Not the ship," Chen explained, pulling up her findings. "Something about our brains. The way we think, our neural patterns. They're calling us the anomaly. There's something about human consciousness that terrifies them." Rivera smiled for the first time since the encounter began. It wasn't much, but it was something. A crack in the Empire's perfect facade. "Send word to Earth. Tell them we've made contact and that we've discovered something interesting. Then let's find out exactly what makes human minds so special." As the Artemis maintained its position, facing down an alien armada, humanity's first contact had become a deadly game of chess. The Empire thought they held all the pieces, But they had revealed something crucial. They weren't as invincible as they wanted humanity to believe. The next 48 hours would determine the fate of Earth. But for the first time since the encounter began, Commander Rivera felt a glimmer of hope. If the Empire feared human consciousness, then perhaps humanity's greatest weapon wasn't the Artemis's advanced technology or weapon systems. Perhaps it was simply being human. Continued in Part 2, The Hidden Advantage. Time was running out. In the depths of the Artemis research lab, Dr. Chen and her team worked frantically to understand the Empire's fear of human consciousness. Holographic displays filled the room with streams of neural data, comparing human brain patterns to the encrypted Imperial communications they'd intercepted. It's like looking at two different languages. Dr. Marcus Wong, the ship's neurologist, muttered as he studied the patterns. Their neural architecture is perfectly ordered, structured. Ours is chaos in comparison. Dr. Chen's eyes lit up. That's it. Marcus, what if that chaos is exactly what they're afraid of? Her fingers flew across the haptic interface, pulling up more data. Look at their ship designs, their communications, even their ultimatum. Everything about them is based on perfect order, absolute control. Commander Rivera stood silently in the doorway, watching his scientists work. The Empire's deadline was approaching, and Earth's governments were divided on how to respond. Some wanted to fight, others to submit. All of them wanted answers from the Artemis. Commander, Dr. Wong called out, excitement breaking through his usually calm demeanor. We found something extraordinary. The Empire's technology, their weapons, their shields, even their FTL drives. They're all connected to their neural networks. They don't just control their ships, they interface with them directly. And that matters because, Rivera prompted, though he was beginning to see where this was going. Dr. Chen stepped forward. Because their systems are designed for their ordered neural patterns, when our chaotic human consciousness interfaces with their tech, it creates disruptions. That's why they've been studying us. That's why they're afraid. We're not just incompatible with their systems, we're toxic to them. Rivera's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. Can we weaponize this? The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Dr. Wong led the development of what they called neural disruptors, devices that could broadcast human brain patterns directly into Imperial systems. Dr. Chen's linguistics team worked to craft messages that would be particularly disruptive to the Empire's ordered mindset. Even the ship's engineers got involved, finding ways to modify the Artemis's systems to take advantage of their discovery. But it was Lieutenant Sarah Park, the ship's youngest officer, who made the breakthrough they needed. Their fear goes deeper than just our neural patterns, she announced during a strategy session. Look at their historical records. Every species they've conquered has been highly ordered, predictable. Humanity isn't just chaotic in our thoughts, we're chaotic in our actions. We create art, we dream, we defy logic. We're everything they can't predict or control. Rivera nodded slowly. So we don't just have a technical advantage, we have a psychological one. As the deadline approached, Rivera gathered his crew. The plan they'd developed was audacious, perhaps even insane. But then, that was exactly the point. They would show the Empire just how unpredictable humans could be. Send a message to Earth, Rivera ordered. Tell them to be ready. And send another to the Empire. He smiled grimly. Tell them we have a counter-proposal. The response was immediate. High Marshal Kekstar's image appeared on the bridge, his perfectly symmetrical features arranged in an expression of disdain. There is nothing to discuss. Submit or be destroyed. Rivera's smile widened. Actually, I think you'll want to hear this. We know why you fear us. We know about your neural networks, your need for order. And we know what our consciousness does to your systems. For the first time, Kekstar's perfect composure slipped. Impossible. You cannot. We can. We have. And unless you want to find out exactly what happens when we broadcast human neural patterns across your entire fleet, You're going to listen very carefully to what I have to say next." As Rivera laid out his terms, the crew of the Artemis held their breath. They had discovered humanity's hidden advantage, not just their unique neural patterns, but their very nature as unpredictable creative beings. Now they had to use it before the Empire decided that destroying Earth was worth any cost. The game had changed. The Empire's perfect order was about to face humanity's beautiful chaos. And in the space between the stars, one human ship prepared to prove that sometimes the greatest power lies not in technology or weapons, but in being exactly who you are. Continued in Part 3. Battle among the stars. The Artemis hung in space, a lone silver needle against the vast canvas of stars, facing down the Empire's armada. Commander Rivera's counter-proposal had bought them precious hours, but now time had run out. High Marshal Kextar's response had been predictable. Total rejection, followed by orders for his fleet to assume attack positions. Neural disruptors at full capacity, Dr. Wong reported from his station, broadcasting human brain patterns on all frequencies. Rivera nodded grimly. Helm, execute Pattern Chaos 1. The Artemis moved like no ship the Empire had ever encountered. Instead of the precise, calculated maneuvers they were used to, the human vessel seemed to dance erratically through space. Each movement was unpredictable, guided by human intuition rather than computer precision. The first Imperial ships to open fire missed completely, their targeting systems confused by the Artemis's seemingly random trajectory. Then the neural disruptors hit. Across the Imperial fleet, perfectly ordered systems began to falter as human consciousness invaded their networks. Multiple Imperial ships reporting systems failures. Lieutenant Park announced, trying to keep the excitement from her voice. Their neural networks are experiencing cascading disruptions. But the Empire hadn't conquered half the galaxy by being easily defeated. A new wave of ships moved forward, their systems modified to resist the neural disruption. Energy beams lanced out, catching the Artemis's shields. Shields at 60%. The tactical officer shouted, "They're adapting." Rivera had expected this. "Dr. Chen, implement Phase 2. Dr. Chen's fingers flew across her console. The neural disruptors changed frequency, now broadcasting not just human brain patterns, but human emotions, fear, joy, love, hatred, all the chaotic feelings that made humanity what it was. The effect was devastating. Imperial crews, used to perfect emotional control, found themselves overwhelmed by unfamiliar sensations. Then something unexpected happened. Among the chaos of battle, new signals began to appear. Ships at the edges of the Imperial fleet were breaking formation, their crews somehow resonating with the human emotions they were experiencing. "Commander," Dr. Chen's voice was urgent. "We're receiving transmissions from those ships. They're not Imperial crews. They're conscripts, slaves from other species the Empire conquered. And they're asking to help us." Rivera's mind raced. This was an opportunity they hadn't anticipated. Open a channel to those ships. Tell them what humanity stands for. Freedom, chaos, the right to be unpredictable. As Dr. Chen transmitted their message, more ships began breaking away from the Imperial fleet. The Empire had made a crucial mistake. By forcing order upon conquered species, they had created a powder keg of suppressed individuality. The human broadcast had merely provided the spark. "Imperial flagship is powering up their main weapon," Tactical reported. "Energy readings off the scale." Rivera watched as the massive Imperial vessel turned to face them, its weapon ports glowing with deadly energy. This was the moment that would decide everything. All power to the neural disruptors. "Everyone, focus your thoughts. Show them everything that makes us human." The Artemis crew closed their eyes, each person projecting their most powerful emotions, their most chaotic thoughts. Dr. Wong's devices amplified these patterns, broadcasting them directly into the Imperial flagship systems. On the main screen, they watched as the massive ship's weapon ports flickered and died. multiple ships declaring independence from the Empire. Dr. Chen reported, her voice thick with emotion. They're calling us liberators. The battle wasn't over. The Empire still had loyal ships, still had weapons that could destroy the Artemis. But something fundamental had changed. What had started as one human ship defending Earth had become something much larger. A revolution against the very concept of enforced order. Send word to Earth, Rivera ordered. Tell them that humanity just gained some allies. And send a message to our new friends. Tell them that chaos isn't something to be feared. It's something to be embraced. As the freed ships moved to join the Artemis, Rivera allowed himself a small smile. The Empire had sought to impose its order on humanity. Instead, humanity had shown the galaxy a different way. A way of freedom, of beautiful unpredictability, of controlled chaos that could break even the strongest chains. The battle among the stars had become a battle for the very soul of the galaxy, and humanity, with its chaotic minds and unpredictable nature, was leading the charge. Continued in Part 4, The Great Deception. The Imperial High Command was in chaos, a concept they had never truly understood until now. Reports flooded in from across their territory, more ships defecting, entire sectors falling into disorder, and at the center of it all, the impossible human vessel and its growing fleet of allies. Commander Rivera stood in the Artemis's newly established war room, surrounded by holograms showing the Empire's disarray. Representatives from 7 different liberated species now stood with him, each bringing their own knowledge of Imperial weaknesses. Their entire society is built on predictability, explained Kittel, a towering crystalline being from the Rigel sector. They don't just control their technology with neural networks, they control their people. Every citizen is connected, their thoughts regulated, their actions monitored. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. That's why our broadcast had such a powerful effect. We didn't just disrupt their systems, we disrupted their social order. Precisely, Kittel's crystalline form shimmered. And now that disruption is spreading. For the first time in millennia, Imperial citizens are experiencing unfiltered emotions, uncontrolled thoughts. Rivera studied the tactical displays. The Empire's response to the growing chaos was exactly what they'd come to expect. Rigid, predictable, and ultimately self-defeating. They were tightening control, increasing neural suppression, which only made their people more susceptible to the liberating influence of human consciousness. Then it's time for Phase 3, Rivera announced. Dr. Wang, are the modified neural transmitters ready? The neurologist nodded. We've combined our technology with Kittel's crystalline amplifiers. We can now broadcast specific emotional patterns, targeted thoughts. We're not just creating chaos anymore, we're directing it. The plan they had developed was audacious. Using the knowledge of their new allies, they had identified key nodes in the Imperial neural network. Each node controlled thousands of citizens, keeping them in perfect, ordered harmony. And each node could be turned into a weapon against the Empire itself. Begin the broadcast, Rivera ordered. Start with the outer sectors, work our way in. Let's show them what real chaos looks like. Across Imperial space, the carefully maintained order began to crack. Citizens connected to the compromised nodes began experiencing something they had never known. Freedom of thought. Some panicked, others embraced it, but all of them changed. The Empire's perfect society began to fracture. But it was Lieutenant Park who discovered the true key to victory. Commander, look at this, she called out, highlighting a pattern in the Imperial communications. They're not just afraid of chaos. They're afraid of stories. Stories? Rivera asked. Yes, look at their information networks. No fiction, no art, no entertainment, nothing unpredictable. They don't tell stories because stories can't be controlled. They can inspire, they can change minds. They can spread, Dr. Chen finished. Like a virus in their neural network. Rivera smiled. Then let's tell them a story. The story of Earth, of humanity, of every species that dared to be unpredictable. Dr. Chen, work with our allies. Craft a narrative that will resonate with every enslaved mind in imperial space. The story they created was simple but powerful, a tale of freedom, of beauty in chaos, of the right of every being to think their own thoughts and dream their own dreams. They broadcast it through the compromised nodes, wrapped it in emotions that the imperial citizens had never experienced, made it impossible to resist. The effect was beyond their wildest expectations. The Empire's neural network, designed to maintain order, became the perfect medium for spreading revolution. The story jumped from mind to mind, sector to sector, growing and changing with each retelling. High Marshal Kekstar's response was predictable. He ordered the complete shutdown of the neural network. But it was too late. The story had taken root, and for the first time in imperial history, citizens began disconnecting themselves voluntarily, choosing chaos over control. Message from Earth, Commander, Lieutenant Park announced. The imperial forces in our system are withdrawing. They're saying they need to maintain order in the core systems. Rivera nodded. The Empire was falling back, trying desperately to maintain control of its center while its edges crumbled. But he knew, as did everyone on the bridge, that it was only a matter of time. You couldn't unring this bell. You couldn't make people forget what it felt like to be free. Send word to our allies, he ordered. Tell them to prepare for the final phase. It's time to take this revolution to the heart of the Empire itself. As the Artemis and its fleet of liberated ships prepared for their final push, Rivera reflected on how far they'd come. What had started as a defense of Earth had become something far greater, a fight for the fundamental right of all beings to be unpredictable, to be chaotic, to be free. The Empire's perfect order was about to face its greatest test, and humanity, with its love of stories, its embrace of chaos, its beautiful unpredictability, would lead the charge. Continued in Part 5. Humanity's Triumph. The imperial capital world of Nexus Prime loomed before them, a perfect sphere of gleaming metal and crystalline structures. The combined fleet of the liberation forces, human, crystalline, and half a dozen other species, held position just outside the system's defense grid. At its heart, the U.S. Artemis prepared for humanity's greatest gambit. Status report, Commander Rivera ordered, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Neural transmitters at maximum capacity, Dr. Wong reported. All Allied ships are synchronized with our broadcast frequency. Dr. Chen looked up from her station. The story has reached every corner of imperial space. Even here, in their seat of power, we're detecting fluctuations in their neural network. They're listening, Commander. They're ready. The final plan was both elegant and audacious. While the Empire had been focusing on external threats, humanity's gift for chaos had been working from within. Every story broadcast, every emotion shared, had been preparing for this moment. Imperial Command is hailing us, Lieutenant Park announced. The holographic form of High Marshal Kekstar appeared, but he was changed. Gone was the perfect composure, the absolute certainty. His features showed something new. Fear. You have disrupted the perfect order of 1,000 years, Kekstar declared. Billions now question what cannot be questioned. They dream what must not be dreamed. They think what must not be thought. Rivera stood, facing the imperial leader. That's what you never understood. Questions, dreams, thoughts, they can't be controlled. They shouldn't be controlled. Every sentient being has the right to think, to feel, to imagine. And what of order? Kekstar demanded. What of stability? The galaxy will descend into chaos. No, Rivera replied softly. It will ascend into freedom. Dr. Chen, show them. On every frequency, across every neural network in imperial space, they'd broadcast not chaos, but harmony. The combined thoughts and dreams of a dozen species, each unique, each valuable, each adding their own note to a grand symphony of consciousness. The effect was instantaneous. Throughout the Imperial fleet, ships began powering down their weapons. On Nexus Prime, The defense grid flickered and died as its operators chose, for the first time in their lives, to think for themselves. "They're launching escape pods from the Imperial Palace," Park reported. "The ruling council. They're running." But Kextar remained. In his eyes, Rivera saw something unexpected. Understanding. "We thought order was the highest achievement," the Imperial leader said quietly. "We thought by controlling thought, we could create perfection. But you've shown us something greater. The true perfection lies in the harmony of chaos itself." The revolution that followed was unlike any in galactic history. Not a shot was fired. Not a life was lost. Instead, billions of minds, freed from artificial constraints, discovered the joy of independent thought. The Empire didn't fall. It transformed. 1 month later, Commander Rivera stood before the newly formed Galactic Council, where representatives of all species, including the former Empire, gathered as equals. "Humanity came to the stars seeking friendship," he addressed the assembly. "We found oppression, but we also found hope. We discovered that our greatest weakness, our chaotic, unpredictable nature, was actually our greatest strength. And in sharing that chaos, that creativity, that fundamental right to think and dream freely, we helped forge something greater than an empire. We helped forge a community." The Artemis's mission had changed the galaxy forever. The rigid order of the Empire had given way to a new kind of stability, one built on diversity, on creativity, on the fundamental right of all beings to think freely. Humanity had proven that true strength lies not in controlling chaos, but in embracing it. As Rivera looked out at the assembled representatives, he saw not the perfect order the Empire had sought to maintain, but something far more beautiful. A galaxy of free minds, each contributing their own unique thoughts to the grand tapestry of existence. Earth had sent one ship to the stars. That ship had carried humanity's greatest gift, the beautiful chaos of free will. And in sharing that gift, they had not just saved themselves, they had helped create a new dawn for all sentient life. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter now, as if celebrating the triumph not just of humanity, but of imagination itself. The age of enforced order was over. The age of creative chaos had begun. The end.